Well, thanks all for staying with us here on Sunrise Live on EON this Tuesday morning as we continue with our conversations. Now, the new mining charter was released last week, and soon after the release, the Chamber of Mines announced that it was going to court to interdict the charter. Some mining lawyers even went as far as saying that it has almost no chance of surviving a court challenge and will probably be suspended within a week. So joining us this morning to take a closer look at these new proposed changes, we're speaking to mining lawyer Jacinto Rocha as well as mining investor Gayton Mckenzie. Now, you remember, to be part of our conversation this morning, you simply give us a call on 011-447-1742, alternatively 1620. Also, feel free to leave your comments on our Facebook as well as our Twitter pages. Gentlemen, thanks a lot for joining us this morning. Now, let's start off with you, Jacinto. I mean, you're a mining lawyer, so that perhaps your perspective is whether to critique the actual proposals that have been put forward. And I want us to touch base in terms of exactly what has been put forward. Number one, what's been put forward is that 30% of black ownership, right, which is supposed to be implemented, I believe, within the 12 months. Number two, it's the 50+1% of the black shareholding in a company that is actually trying to acquire mining rights. On the one side, we've got the mining companies as well as the mining industry that it wants to actually have a court interdict and says that the due processes were not necessarily followed. In other words, consultation was not done effectively and therefore investors are pulling out. On the other hand, we've got people that are praising it. So where do you stand?
One is to start from the position that South Africa is a constitutional democracy. And because it is a constitutional democracy, all laws or policies must be in line with it. Now, transformation or redress is contained in Section 9 of the Constitution. You have raised the issue of the 30%. One is to be careful that there is a distinction between what the document itself says and the perception it creates in people's mind. When
you say the perception that it creates in people's mind, and Gayton, I'm going to come to you in terms of exactly where you're standing, because you've had some strong words to share regarding those who would seek to oppose the mining charter. So when you say the perception with whom? The perception of the investors or the perception within the general public?
Perception within the investors, perception within the general public.
Okay, so what would the perception be regarding this?
Let's look at the 30% for existing operations. The impression that is being created is that the jump from 26 to 30, it will create new opportunities. It will not. Because what the charter itself says is that the 4% will go to existing BE partners. So this is what it says.
Hold it there. What do you say? So the 30% that is being imposed, or that is being proposed at this stage, which is, subject to change if the matter should go to court and become suspended, there's a perception that it's going to create new opportunities. Jacinto here is saying it's not going to create new opportunities because you might be finding that the same people that are feeding off the same pond are the ones that are still going to be continuously benefiting. What is your stance on that one, Gayton?
Well, let me start by saying that I'm a big supporter of the new mining charter. And where I disagree with Mr. Rocha here is because he's speaking from the premise that all mining houses in South Africa has got 26% already. While I can tell you as a fact that most of them has got 0 BE partners. They've never done anything. So those will be new entrants. Those will be new people because most of them has not done that. They have not done BE. For instance, I've got a few mines in the Northwest where I can tell you it's like Orania in as far as mining is concerned. I went to the mining in Daba. I go to different mining in Dabas. When you see black people there, you can count them literally. It's either they go for work, but when you sit in all the things where big money is being discussed, they are not there. So I disagree with what Mr. Rocha is saying that it will be the existing 4%. Because how can it be 4% if some are on 0?
I think, remember I said perception. And this is the wrong perception that Mr. Mckenzie has. What the charter itself says, in the top-up, and this is the term that the charter uses, in the top-up will go to existing BE partners. This is the wording that the charter says. The top-up will go to existing BE partners. So whether it is zero, which is not true. Okay?
So you're saying that it's not true?
That is not, it's not true that there is zero. It could be true that they are not at 26%. So whether they are at 1%, B, or 26%, to go to 30, according to the charter, that difference will go to existing B partners.
Okay.
Or existing operations.
We're going to be continuing with this. I just want to invite you at home to be to be active participants in this conversation. We really are speaking about these proposals made by the Minister of Minerals, looking at exactly what is to happen when it comes to the acquisition of mining rights, what is to happen when it comes to the black ownership aspect of it. Some saying that it's going to be creating, open up opportunities for those who are entering into the market. Others saying, listen, investors are going to be pulling out, which means that it's going to contract the industry in itself, which means job losses. So this is where we're taking our conversation there as well. And I saw you disagreeing profusely with regards to that there is no zero, as Jacinto has just mentioned here. Are there those companies that no transformation is present whatsoever, or no blackface? Let's be honest, there's no blackface.
I know many of those companies myself.
Yeah.
Mr. Rocha is sitting here saying that most companies are 26 BE compliant. If that was the case, I can promise you this charter would not have been that radical. This charter is radical on the premise of that, like in the land issue in this country, that has not moved. It's the same is happening in mining. But let me, for a second, for the sake of this argument, just agree with him. Mm-hmm. If he says it's the existing, if I invest tomorrow in a new mine with I got nobody, I'm just putting my money in the new mine as a white man. Are you saying those people are not yet part of mining? It will bring a new group of people in. This charter does not only speak about what's happening now. It's not a charter for this week. It's a charter for the future. So it basically says anybody that wishes to do mining in this country, you need to be 30% empowered. Some people, like, I don't know, are you in mining, but let's say, for instance, you wish to go into mining. This charter speaks about you prior to you entering in mining. So I don't think it's correct for us to sit here and say it is the usual suspects that's going to benefit.
Then why are investors threatening to pull out? I mean, various articles, and maybe this could be just the perception from the media that is propagating all of this. Perceptions that, investors are a little bit jittery about this move and that they're actually threatening to pull out, which means that it's going to contract the industry, which means that it's going to directly impact the ordinary man on the street, and that's the man that is seeking a job. Jacinto?
Okay. Mr. Mckenzie has to understand that I was talking about existing operations. Mm-hmm. Okay, and what the charter itself says. So it's not a perception, it's a reality of what the charter says. Mm-hmm. Now let's move to new operations. This is what the charter says. In respect of new prospecting rights, mm-hmm. 50 plus 1. Mm-hmm. In respect of new mining rights, 30. Now, as a person who was involved in the industry, you have to know where do you come from in relation to mining.
Okay.
In other words, there is always a step. And unless you are a digger and you have applied for a mining permit, the normal process is you start from prospecting, you go into mining. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you don't have a B shareholder in prospecting, it is correct that when you then apply for new mining rights, then the equity requirement will be 30%. Mm-hmm. That one is correct. It may or may not bring new partners. Mm-hmm. Okay? When it goes to prospecting, what it then says is, if you apply for prospecting, the requirement is 50 plus 1. Mm-hmm. Now, I started by saying that we live in a constitutional democracy. Okay? When I first read that, it took me back 50 years ago to the Mining Rights Act of 1967. And the Mining Rights Act of 1967 said, in Section 7, that no prospecting permit will be issued to a company where coloureds own the controlling interest. Mm-hmm. And then it also said the same, that no prospecting permit would be issued to a company where blacks were shareholders. Mm-hmm. Now, why I'm using this is 50 years later, the democratic government is using a similar clause to prohibit other South Africans from entering the mining sector. It's just in the other way.
Yes.
Faith, I cannot sit here and just listen to what my learned friend said here. That's the article or the clause he's quoting of many years ago that seems to exclude colored people and seems to exclude black people. And comparing it to what is happening now, that cannot be left not debated. Let me explain to you why I'm saying that. The clause of 1960-something was to keep the majority of the citizens of this country out of mining. The current one that Minister Zwane has introduced is to make sure, is to do the direct opposite, to make sure that the few that is benefiting, which is the color white, the few that is benefiting, cannot continue to benefit as only a few. This is totally, it is blight, it is chalk and cheese. That one was more exclusionary. This one is more to include people. That's number one. Number two, we cannot sit here and not agree that this charter seeks to address the balances of the past.
Then I have to ask the question, which is the question that I posed before. Why is it that investors want to pull out? On one hand, we've got the threats of investors pulling out. And I can understand the semantics and taking us back to the academia behind it. But I want, right now, anybody who's in the mining industry wants to know, number one, if they are at the bottom of the food chain, am I going to lose my job as a result of these impositions? Number two, if I'm at the top of the food chain, am I going to lose already benefits or the already, my benefits that are currently coming to me as a result of these proposals?
I think one has to, I'm speaking as a lawyer and as a practitioner, not as a politician. One has to understand how do mines come about. And the first step is prospecting, okay, or exploration. We know for a fact that most of these monies, if not all, come from foreign stock exchanges. Canada, Australia, UK. And the principle is, if I want to invest in an asset, I must be able to control it. Okay? Now, if I'm not able to control it, I'm not going to come in. Which then means, yes, it is well and good to have 50% plus one. The question is, who's going to come?
And who's going to invest?
He was going to invest because I, as the investor, with the money, I need to have control. And this is where it is nice to say 50 plus 1 will introduce new people. It's good. The question is it going to happen in reality? And the reality that we have today is that neither the DFIs in South Africa nor the banks in South Africa fund risk projects.